Hi, everyone, back to the More YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the Aftermath. This is the show we do when the dust has settled for the instant post-match reaction from Newcastle United's latest game, which happened to be a drab, miserable, boring, rubbish, 0-0 draw down at Molineux against Wolverhampton Wanderers, rock bottom Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolverhampton Wanderers now only has 8 points out of 22 Premier League games or something like that. Anybody who says this is a good point, really, have your standards dropped to that level that you're accepting that as a good point on the road? I'm going to get into this in a minute because the dust has settled, but my opinion is not settled on this whatsoever. And it's the same with every Newcastle United away performance in the minute. It's Groundhog Day. It's Bill Murray FC. It's the same old shit over and over again from this manager, tactically one-dimensional and just really, really crap. You know, no risk and no reward. That's what this Newcastle United team get when they're away from home. And weirdly enough, it looked like Eddie Howe set that team up to come away with a point. And if he has actually done that, nobody will ask him that question because none of the press will ask him that question. And nobody wants to rattle Eddie's cage or get upset or whatever it is. But I would be saying to him, if I had the chance, Eddie, what was you thinking in a Wolves game? Because I've just been looking at SofaScore again there in terms of the average player positions, right? And both Nick Voltemade and Johan Vissa's average positions are so far withdrawn from the edge of the Wolves box. It's no wonder we haven't scored a goal. You've got Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon as well. Weirdly enough, I think Gary Neville accused him of being too wide in an overlap video. They're kind of in field, but they're offering nothing. They're not making any runs. It was too static all over the pitch. The two most creative players, once again, and you're saying this every week, home or away, is Lewis Hall at left back and Bruno Guimaraes in midfield. I mean, there's a lot of people crying for Lewis Hall to be moved further up the park, even Mark as well. And I kind of understand that. I've been saying for a long time, no, you got to keep the left back because we don't have another left back, which is right. But he is actually our most creative influence. And if we had a left back or someone who could play there and Lewis Hall was further up the park, you'd probably fancy him to fashion a chance or crack one on the back of the net himself in the minute because nobody else is taking up that mantle. Nobody else has got the balls to have a shot or thread a through ball or do something that's a risk. You know, you don't mind teams losing games or drawing games if they're taking the risks to try and win it. But this Newcastle United team risks nothing whatsoever. You know, this is 2 wins in 11 away games this season, but it stretches back to last season. This is only 4 wins in 18 away games. And when you look at those average positions, we sit so far off in this 4-3-3 against, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it be Manchester City, the Etihad, or Liverpool at Anfield, or Wolves at fucking Molineux, rock bottom Wolves. We don't seem to back ourselves, or the manager doesn't seem to set this team up to have a go at somebody. Now, if we come out of the traps against Wolves and went right at them, full pelt, in the first 10 minutes of that game, we could have been 2-0 up or 3-0 up, right? And then there's no coming back from Wolves. The crowd turns, the groans come, their players get their heads down. Oh, God, it's going to be another one of them days, lads. But we didn't. It was nothing football. It wasn't tick-a-tacker. It was shit-a-crapper is what it was, because it was pass sideways, pass backwards, pass sideways, get on the edge of the box. Oh, we better not have a shot. Pass it back sideways, pass it back sideways, pass it back backwards. And you're like, what is going on here? You know, you got a 60-odd million quid centre forward up front. I've just looked. He only had 13 touches in 67 minutes of football. He had 2 chances. He didn't get one of them on target. Now, I don't want to go in too hard on Nick Voltemade because he's a young lad. He's still learning this league, and he's got a team that's not geared up to work with him. You know, what Nick Voltemade wants is he wants the ball to feet, he wants the ball to chest, he wants to take a touch, and he wants to look either left or right and have people peeling past him in behind the defense. And nobody's doing that. You know, Barnes has done it in stages this season, but he didn't do it yesterday. You know, Gordon is just, I don't know what is going on, Anthony Gordon. I keep seeing links on social media to Arsenal. I'll drive him for you. Honestly, like, you can have him. He hasn't scored a Premier League goal in over a year. And there's still people who are dying on the hill that this lad is one of our top players. I haven't seen this kid show up for fucking ages for Newcastle United in the Premier League, right? He shows up in the Champions League. And when I say show up, half of his goals have come from the penalty spot. Now, let's get it right. If Nick Voltemade had took them after that belter penalty scored at St. James's Park, he'd probably been with 15 goals this season. You know, Anthony Gordon is offering fuck all to this Newcastle United lineup right now. And he has no divine right to walk into this team starting the left-hand side when Harvey Barnes' output is considerably better than Anthony Gordon. It really is. And it's a low bar in many ways because our wingers have been really shit this season. But weirdly enough, looking at the average positions, when Anthony Elanga came on, he was the furthest up the park. He was farther ahead than Vissa, who looks a shadow of that player that was at Brentford. I said when he got injured, is this knee injury going to strip him of a yard or two of pace? He looks knackered, right? And do you know what? He's been back since mid-December, right? We're now closing into the 20th of January. What's his excuse? Why is he so labored? Why is he so stagnating? Why can't you run? Why can't you move? Where's the zip? Where's the movement? Where's the running? One tap in against Fulham. Where's he been? Where's he been? Where's that centre forward that we thought we were signing from Brentford? He's not showed up, right? He's been out injured all season. I was going, Chris, you've got to give him time, right? The fucker's had a month to get sharp and get fit and work on everything. He's had longer than that with his recovery. Eddie Howe waited to bring him back in, mainly because he didn't want him to go to African Cup of Nations. And we're not seeing that player from Vissa. This is a guy who was 55 million quid for Johan Vissa from Brentford. 55 million quid. We paid a good 30 plus million quid too much for that kid, right? Brentford had our pants down and slapped the cheeks. They really did, because they knew we were desperate for a player. He was a panic buy after Alexander Isak left us high and dry, like fucking Radiohead, but not as nice of a tune. That's what he did. But we signed Johan Vissa in desperation for a plug-and-play Alexander Isak replacement. He's not an Alexander Isak replacement. He was a Callum Wilson replacement, and people need to remember that. There's a lot of fans who have sipped that Kool-Aid, bathed in the Kool-Aid, to think that Johan Vissa was the Alexander Isak replacement. No, he wasn't. He was not. Ekitike was meant to be that player, turned us down. Sesko was meant to be that player, turned us down. Nick Voltemade was the alternative to those two. And I think Nick Voltemade is a really good player. But what the club have done there, to me, they haven't done their due diligence, and they've signed this player who's a really good footballer, right? Let's get it right. He's got a lovely touch. He reminds me a bit of Berbatov. He slows the game down in the right way, right? But you cannot shoehorn that lad into a 4-3-3 that does not work for him and just keep fucking playing through it game after game after game after game, hoping that suddenly something's just going to change. The definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And that is what Eddie Howe has been doing for so long at this football club, right? Do I want him gone right now? No, I don't, right? But has he run out of ideas? Yes, right? Is he being so stubborn that he won't change his formation to get the best out of the players that he currently has at his disposal? Yes, he fucking is being stubborn, right? When we're away from home, your 4-3-3, Eddie, is not working, right? Largely, it's not working because you don't have the centre forward that you used to have who can burst with pace in between the lines and break the lines and get beyond the back four, and take a sniff of the rare chances that you create. It took the 80th minute or something for Newcastle to get that 2 shots on target, and it came from the same move. Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton against Wolves, man. It's not good enough. If this was Steve Bruce as the manager, we'd be screaming that he should be binned that evening. But nobody's doing that because of what Howe's done before and the cup. And I understand why people feel that way. Like I always say, you can have your opinion, I can have mine, they can have theirs, whatever it is, right? We all just want a successful version of Newcastle United, but that ain't it. That ain't it. That's a dreadful performance against a really poor side, right? They may have picked up in recent weeks, but Newcastle were poor, man. They were so poor. They risked nothing. They had no balls to do anything whatsoever. We lack creativity in that team. There isn't a single creative spark in that entire squad right now. Bruno Guimaraes had a push, right? But he can't do that when he's sitting in the 6, right? You have to play him all the time behind the centre forward if you want him to be that creative player. He has to play in that advanced state, right? And to do that, you have to have a good double pivot behind him to control the midfield. Sandro Tonali has dropped off a cliff. Sandro Tonali has been rubbish all season. There's no way that lad should be starting ahead of Lewis Miley right now. Lewis Miley is offering so much more on the pitch with calm, controlled passing. Even when he come on, he was playing a nice few 1-2s and he was trying to get in the box, but just as Kieran Trippier is either too old to see, needs his glasses on, or that bang at the head didn't show him. He wasn't slipping Lewis Miley in with the chances that he had. Even Alanga was making runs and nobody was passing through to him either. Yes, granted, he's ballooning crosses, 40 yards beyond the striker's head. But if he's running in behind, at least play it to him. You might get fouled, you might get a pen or a free kick or something to win that game 1-0. But they were just so boring and pass. And there was no teeth, there was no bite. It was all fart and no shit. It was an awful performance by Newcastle United. And the worst thing was, we've seen that so many times before. It's Groundhog Day, risking nothing and getting nothing in return. That's Newcastle United away from home. When we're at home, teams come on to us, right? They try and nullify the crowd. They come on to us, make it a bit of a game, and then Newcastle have to turn up and they have to attack and they have to do something. And that's when you start seeing some of the better parts of this team going forward-wise, not at the back. But when we're away from home and teams sit in low blocks and go, right, Newcastle, you come on to us, we have nothing. I saw Liam Kennedy, I think he called it blunt as a butter knife, one of Geordie journals. He was absolutely right with that. There's no cutting edge to this Newcastle United team away from home. And you look at the games that are coming up this week. We've got PSV midweek in the Champions League, right? The last time they were in the UK, they battered Liverpool 4-1. They came to Liverpool with no fear. And if they come to Newcastle with no fear, we could be in big trouble in that game, and making it difficult to get through the Champions League, but also get through to a favourable draw that we may have a chance of winning. Then we've got Aston Villa at the weekend, and that's a tough game. Aston Villa at home, we normally have a good record against them, but Villa are a really good side, way better than the Wolves team we just played there. And then we're going to go away to Anfield, who, yes, I know they're having a tough time. They'll be licking their chops at the prospect of Newcastle coming, a team that offers nothing coming forward and is never going to trouble your goalkeeper. Is going to be manna from heaven for Onslaught right now, who's under loads of pressure. He'll be thinking, well, at least I'll batter Newcastle because they'll offer nothing. They'll attack, they'll pass, and they won't shoot. And then I'll get a chance and, we'll tuck it away and maybe win 2-0. And then we've got PSG away who could murder us if we play like that against them. And it's really concerning. It's really concerning that, our summer transfer business has been awful. Let's get it right. Awful. None of those players outside of Malik Chow and to an extent Nick Voltemade have offered anything to this squad in terms of enhancement. The amount of goals and assists that they have created as an attacking investment is next to nothing. It really is. You may as well have give your young Song Soo a chance from the fucking reserves, or Alfie Harrison or Alabi or someone like that. They may offer you more goals and assists than 150 million quid on Vissa, on Alanga, on Jacob Ramsey, and even Nick Voltemade to an extent as well. His confidence is rock bottom. When the minute Howe hooked him, it was just a kick in the balls for Big Nick. You could see it in his face, the anguish, the pain when he didn't put those chances away. As if like, oh, well, that's my shot gone then. I didn't put that away, so he's going to bin us next week. That's an awful place to be for a young centre forward. We dropped 60-odd million quid on this kid. Either back him, right, or, I don't know, admit you got it wrong. But Johan Vissa is a shadow of the player he is. I saw somebody in our comments say he looks like Cisse towards the end of his Newcastle career, just offside all the time. Cisse came on, Cisse. I wish Cisse came on. Prime Cisse. He might have won that game 1-0. He might have scored a worldie from 40 yards. But Vissa come on. He had 10 touches in 20-odd minutes. No shots on target, no shots in general, and he was offside. And that's only marginally worse than Nick Voltemade, who was on for over an hour. And that's a real problem for Newcastle. We lost an unbelievable centre forward last year. Yeah, he's been shit this season, and we all have a little giggle about it. But what we wouldn't give for an Alexander Isak in this Newcastle team right now, doing what he was doing last season and the season before that, we lack so much spark, so much innovation, so much imagination in this team that when we're playing against teams like that, I mean, Wolves are buzzing for that point. It's one of the best results this season. But Newcastle just came and again, offered nothing, didn't risk anything. So how could we expect to get anything out of the game? It's so poor at the moment. It really, really is. And, like I say, that's 4 wins and 18 away games, 2 wins and 11 this season. That's not a top 5 team in the Premier League, right? Can't play all your games at home, lads. You're not going to get top 5. This league is still concertina together, but it is going to break away. It is going to break apart. And those top 4, top 5 spaces will start to become even further away from Newcastle with more and more shit lackluster performances like this, where they're dropping points. We needed 3 against Wolves. We needed 3 because we ain't going to get that against Liverpool at Anfield, in my opinion. We might struggle to beat Villa as well at St James's the way they're playing. Then we've got Spurs away. I know Spurs are Spursy, right? But you never know what you get with Spurs. They might have a new manager by then. They could have a new manager bounce the pressure that's mounting on Thomas Frank. Newcastle are dropping so many points on the road. It's just unforgivable. It's unforgivable. But this manager is never questioned, and he's never doubted by some of the press, by a lot of the fans as well. I mean, how can you watch performances like that away from home and tell me that Eddie Howe is still the man? That is an awful fucking display of lackluster tactical ineptitude away from home. Change it. Change the formation. Go 4-2-3-1. Go 3-5-2 or whatever. Make a change. Do something different. Don't just change the personnel. The 3 of them are on the pitch, like the 3 blind mice from fucking Shrek. Him, Tyndall, and Graham Jones scratching their heads like monkeys in the fucking zoo. And you're like, well, what are you going to do about it? Do something different. Change it. You know, he could have dropped Voldemort to the 10 and put Vissa up front. Just tried something different, because Newcastle could be playing until next Sunday and they wouldn't have scored a goal in that game. So what was the difference? What was the hurt to break your precious 4-3-3 and fucking change it up anyhow? I'm so bored of this one-dimensional tactics. And then when we don't win games, you know, we draw games that we should win and we lose games that we should draw because we offer nothing. And we're nothing FC, empty FC, you know. Big players not turning up. No signings in the transfer window. He's talking about we don't have the, what did he say, the financial capacity to sign an attacking player in this window. So what we're going to end up with? Another Lloyd Kelly on loan from somewhere? Like, fuck me, man. What is going on with this football club? What's going on with the finances? Why did we spunk 200 million quid against the wall and 3 of those players don't suit our system or aren't good enough? When was the last time you saw Jacob Ramsey have a good game for Villa before we signed him? Ask yourself that. Everyone's thinking Jacob Ramsey's the answer. When did he last play well for Villa? You know, the Bayern Munich game, that was ages before we signed them. The signings have been awful. Shit scouting. A summer of disarray, coming home to roost in the Premier League. People are saying we're 8th. Yeah, we're 8th for now. But you keep playing away from home against shit teams like Wolves. And let's get it right. They are shit. It was a good performance from Wolves in terms of what they did, and their game plan and the result. But Wolves are shit. Wolves are going to the Championship next season. And Newcastle couldn't even lay a glove on them. Really disappointing, really depressing. You know, we've got PSV coming to the Champions League. Watch and see some of these players raise their game because the world's watching. Anthony Gordon in particular. Shithouse. Not doing enough. Not doing enough to earn his space in this lineup for me. But it walks into Eddie Howe's team week on, week out, and it's really, really fucking poor. It's a tough month ahead for Newcastle United, and that's the last thing we needed, was that lackluster shit Groundhog Day performance. Nothing's going to change away from home while this manager digs his heels in. There's going to be more weeks like this, and come the end of the season, I don't think there's European football in the cards for us if we keep playing like that. But that's my thoughts on it, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Remember to like and subscribe. Help the video, help the channel grow. Hype the video, do everything that you can do, all free content evermore. But if you want to be a member down there, you can come join the new Discord group, which is a lot safer than social media. You can say what you want. If you love the manager, great. If you don't love the manager, fine. We had a great conversation with Mandy in our chat. Shout out to Mandy, where, you know, myself and George didn't agree with her, she didn't agree with us, and it was all safe and sound. And that's the future, I think, of football conversations, is groups away from social media, because it's poison, man. It's okay if you critique the manager, it's okay if you support the manager, right? But you show me your workings out, I'll show you my workings out, right? That's not good enough. 4 wins in 18 away games is not good enough by anyone's standards. I don't care if you're called Steve Bruce or Eddie Howe. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a belter. We'll be back for PSV. Keep it evermore. See you later.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.